Hello and welcome to today's edition of Sapita Show. Today we reflect on the theme African Leadership Deficiencies, the Way Forward. And we are honored to have the illustrious African philosopher, Professor Onyeocha. Prof Onyeocha is a Catholic priest of the Claretian Missionaries. He was educated at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome and holds 2 earned doctorate degrees, one in philosophy from the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., and the other in education from the University of London. He has authored 26 books and numerous scholarly articles in international journals. Welcome, Prof, to the show.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
It's my pleasure. It's 40 books, not 26.
Wow. 40 authored 40 books and, of course, countless articles in numerous international journals. Pardon my mistake there. Okay, let's dive into the topic of the day. In your different views of Africa, you distinguish about 8 categories of people, in which one of them is the Africans. You see that they often start out by getting themselves at the corridors of power and using power with complete recklessness. In fact, in your own words, they wend up as despots and daily strive to outdo themselves in showing incredible crudeness in exercise of raw power, either by mindless autocracy or by excessive brutality. You say that they are insecure at home and unwelcome abroad. You say that sometimes they over-dramatize the consequential about opposition and national security, and that Africans are among the greatest obstacles in Africa's way of emerging from poverty and development. So how do we get past the excesses of this group of people that have held Africa back from development?
Oh, thank you for reminding me of these interesting neologisms. When I got those words, put them together, I meant them to be obvious to any reader. They didn't come from the dictionary, but anybody who reads them understands that a clown is really out to entertain with animals, wearing funny costumes and doing things, jumping and dancing and crying and laughing and smiling. Africlowns carry the mentality of clowns into governance, and they are known for their antics of wearing costumes, funny faces, funny expressions, talking about this and that. And many people who present themselves as leaders in Africa are clowns in that guise. And the only way is to streamline what it takes to get into power. Because so long as it is not streamlined, one clown succeeds another clown, and they impose themselves on the community. For instance, in Nigeria, you see there was so much talk about PVC, about vote to guard your votes and all those things. Very superficial preparation. Nobody taught them how to guard their votes. Nobody taught them how to hold accountable those who flouted the rules. Nobody taught them how to reject an incorrect decision. So at the end they said, no, keep calm, let's go to the court. Remember also that in Nigeria, the president of Nigeria, Buhari, when the issue of Martin Nnamdi Kanu was being talked about, people were appealing to him. He said, let the courts decide. And the courts decided more than 6 months ago, yet it was not obeyed. You see, so unless it is streamlined, either constitutionally or in any other form, what gives you access to governance, what keeps you in governance, what can take you out of governance, when you misbehave, then it's all a joke. Africlowns will have a free access indefinitely. So that's my analysis of it.
That's quite it seems almost like there's no way out. But let's zero in to Nigeria as the so-called giant of Africa. So what do you make generally of our recently held elections? And as an intellectual, an education and a professor, what do you make of some of your professor colleagues who actually aided the Taos to rig the election?
Unfortunately, you mentioned professors.
Yeah.
A professor professes knowledge. A good professor professes good knowledge. A bad professor is a misnomer. Because if you have access to the real things about life and reality, you are not going to bow to the attraction of money or emoluments or inducements or things like that. So it's unfortunate that people tend to associate professors. It's only a few professors. Let us say there are 36 states. Let us say there are 36 professors involved in the election thing. What are there? About 600,000, about 60,000 professors in Nigeria. It's nothing. The professor, what his name, cannot be induced by anything whatsoever. Now that's at one side of it. On the other side of it, again, a system that is inept. Government insists on appointing vice chancellors, appointing professors, appointing this as a way to weaken the system. When people talk about autonomy of universities, that is precisely what it means. That they are able to look around and get who exactly can be a vice chancellor, and not somebody who is a member of one political party or another. Ordinarily, professors are not supposed to belong to political parties.
Yeah.
Well, let me also chip in a little bit. When in the United States, the person in charge of the central bank, Alan Greenspan served under 3 or 4 presidents from different parties.
Oh.
This one finished and goes, the other one returns him and goes, and the other one returns him and he goes. And when Alan Greenspan finished serving, he went back to Harvard where he was a professor. Then look at Condoleezza Rice. She's a professor in Princeton. When she was a foreign secretary, after serving, she just went back to the classroom. When Nigerians do that, what do they look for in political appointments? You see, so all those things is the fault of government. It's a faulty foundation. It's also a way that can be overcome through rational application of ideas. Professors rule with ideas. They grapple with ideas, and ideas rule the world. Incidentally, politics has refused to let ideas rule Nigeria. So they let money and power rule Nigeria. So I don't know whether I've answered what you said.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head. But you've talked about the streamlining the system and all that. So, but based on your knowledge of African history, because this problem goes across different countries in Africa. So, what type of leadership architecture do you think Africans need to leapfrog the many encumbrances on her path to development? Just like Nyerere would talk about conscientism and all that, and that's going with their own different political ideology. What type of leadership architecture does Africa need?
Well, there is this famous political philosophy book called Isms that discuss all kinds of political positions, socialism to capitalism to all those isms. It's easy to hide under an ism and still produce the same old result. The whole thing to do is, first, Africa must assert its independence. It doesn't have to be Western democratic or Eastern democratic or socialist or whatever it is. The West, please go away, allow Africa to work out as partners, not as your servants. For instance, what does a Nigerian looking for trying to rule Nigeria, what does he have to do with Chatham House in Britain? You go for them to vet your program for what? So let Africa assert its autonomy. They are grown up. Okay, wherever they need help, they can ask for neighbors in Europe and America or whatever. But let America or Europe not stand in their way to determine their autonomy. Autonomy is very, very important. So what is holding Africa back is lack of autonomy. Check the currency, check the educational system, check the political system. They must always be tied to one Western country or another, and it won't do at all.
Wow. Okay. Now, but let's look at that issue of neocolonialism and imperialism. Some people think that these two things are the sole problem of Africa's underdevelopment. But they even blame the current war, in Sudan. They hit it on the foreigners. But is this kind of blame game really a tenable way to development?
Well, people who fight are generally mad. Otherwise, no same person fights in a destructive way. So, if you mention something like Sudan, that means those who are in charge of this, who decided from the quiet place to start shooting and killing each other, there is something wrong with them. So the best thing is stop the fighting, to see how you can stop the fighting and discuss what the issues are, and then see how they can be resolved. Now, so anybody who studies this thing knows that there are so many hidden interests fighting a proxy war. Proxy means you are at home, but people are fighting and dying on your behalf. None of your people, none of your children, none of your citizens is scratched. They kill themselves for your cause. Maybe for a fee, maybe for a position, maybe for an emolument. But this is what is happening in Africa. When you talk about neo-colonialism, it is when someone unduly lays a claim to a territory, calling it his territory, and based on a political past. That's what neo-colonialism. The British could claim Nigeria and Ghana and English-speaking areas, where the French will claim Cameroon and Gabon and all those places. For goodness sake, why? So neo-colonialism can be overcome when Africa comes together and asserts its autonomy. As I said, Nkrumah said Africa must unite. Africa must unite. And I think that's where it goes.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about terms of you made mention of your book of the book we call Afri-Files, and you say that those who have that kind of love for Africa, and you mentioned foreigners too, who can be Afri-Files. They really want, they are committed to African development, and their commitment is firm, total, and unconditional. So I want your parting words to people in leadership positions, even though they may not be doing well, but your parting words to them, and then your parting words to the youths who are desirous that their country, Nigeria or Africa, should develop and join the community of developed nations, And then your words, to parting words to Africans who are committed to African development in a firmly, totally and unconditional manner.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Afri-Files again. Afri-File, I am using the etymology of philia that you have in philosophy. Philos, love, philia, love. So Afri-Files are the ones who love Africa so intensely that it almost amounts to a passion for the well-being of Africa. Any love of Africa that doesn't amount to a passion can be something else. Afri-Files are those so fascinated about the well-being of Africa that they will do anything possible to get this, make this realized. So, those who get into leadership or rulership of Africa, looking for money, looking for property, looking for these, please give us a break. Take all the money you want, but leave Africa to solve its own things out. You see, experts have said that Africa is the most endowed continent of the entire world in terms of mineral, in terms of economic, in terms of personnel, in terms of space, in terms of everything. Africa produces about 90% of the world's resources, but consumes less than 1%. So, allow Africa to develop and be able to share in the development, to begin to discover the wealth that it is sitting on, and to share it generously with the whole world. I'm not saying that Africa should become fat and no. Allow Africa to develop. Until very recently, if you went to study abroad, there are certain subjects you were not allowed to study. You study maybe economics, or you study history, or you study. But when it comes to nuclear physics and all those places, it's only recently, maybe a couple of decades ago, before you go there, they will not let you study. Now, with or without the Western institutions, those courses are possible for our people, and they could excel in them. So, if you talk about parting words, please let the love of Africa amount to a fascination. And once it is fascination, then there is nobody to fight against, there's no idea to fight against, simply to explore and to move ahead. So that's what I would say about, if you call it parting words, that's my parting words for it. And we look forward to it. It is an exciting type of prospect.
So, your words to the youths.
Yes. My words to the youth, my parting word to the youth is, keep on keeping on. You have manifested your readiness through your responses in the recent elections. Incidentally, a little touch here and there would have mobilized you further. So, mobilize yourselves. It's not about activism going to break this down or this and down. It is about mobilizing yourself, mobilizing each other, and refusing, as you did, the leadership of any unsuitable person. You can do it. The youths can do it. It doesn't mean that someone who is 100 years old certainly or necessarily becomes a washout. There are also 90-year-olds who are on your side. So you don't use chronological age as the sole criterion, but a disposition of mind to realize who works with you or who works against you. So keep on keeping on, keep your enthusiasm, keep your keep your hopes, and keep your optimism afloat. The good thing is that with modern technology, a lot of the things that were chronologically impossible or chronically impossible to do are now very, very possible. Maybe within 1 year or 2 years training, you can become an expert in artificial intelligence, and there is no stopping. There is no limit where you will reach. So that is my word to you young people.
On that note, thank you so much, Prof, for gracing the occasion. Once more, this is Sapita Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Next time we will take you to the arena of education, South Africa, so that you will still share a perspective as someone who is very well learned, versatile in that area too. So, meanwhile, I say goodbye to our fans.
Goodbye. Thank you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Giving everyday heroes extraordinary voices.